All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Digitech Zeal. I'm so excited to have you guys connected to this platform at this very moment. At Digitech Zeal, we believe in capacity development. That is one of the area we feel that God has blessed us with. We are always excited when we have individuals that show interest. All right, so this is a free data analytics tester section. This is a free data analytics tester section. Okay, so I know some persons were actually asking us that it is free indeed. We've done more than this, but just that at times, from experience, some people doubt so much up to the point that they believe that people cannot give them something free. All right, but you are going to see tonight that it's actually training. So I'm not going to do much on marketing our brand, what we are. So I can do that via the group you are in. So I'm not going to spend time on that. So at the end of the training, everybody that stayed to the end, I am going to give them, remember that it is only this particular session that we advertise to be free. All right. So it's actually a master class. All right. And I don't want to say much yet because I'm yet to mentor us. So this particular session is more or less of mentoring us, guiding us, because from experience, I discovered that there are a lot of persons that subscribe into certain aspects of technology wrongly, blindly, and at the end of the day, you discover that they opt out even without getting to the middle of the class. And that is why we have developed this as a culture, all right, so that we give you an avenue, number one, to check whether we are able to train you. Number two, for you to understand what data analytics is all about. Like I said, I have graduated a lot of persons. I think if I may just give a random number, I've graduated not less than 6,000 individuals across the globe. All right. So I can tell you categorically that a lot of persons make some serious mistake just because today they hear that AI automation is really, data analytics is really, this one is really cyber security. I take all these programs, but I can tell you that they are not meant for every one of us. That is just the truth. So I'm not here to tell us life for you to register, even if it is one person at the end of the day that see the value of what I'm going to explain. I'm okay with that. I have done it several times. I have some persons here that have joined some of my sessions so that they can attest to that. All right. So this session, the major thing we are going to take away from this session is that at the end of this session, everybody here should know what data analytics is all about. So I'm going to give us all the information, or let's say what, the majority of the information you need to know so that you don't, even if you don't register with us, by the time you want to register with any other platform or any physical center, you have an understanding of what you are going into. Data analytics is not for some persons. You are going to find out today whether you are even fit, whether this is an area you should consider. All right? So let's look at let's quickly look at, and I will advise you to be taking notes. If I'm too fast, somebody you can use the message section. Because I'm taking this as if it's the first class. So which means that even if you subscribe into the master class at the end of this session, for those of us that are here, I'm not going to repeat this because this is going to serve as the first class. Okay, so let's look at what data analytics is all about. Let's assume that this is your first time of coming into this field called data analytics. You don't know anything about it. Probably you have heard of people saying, this is one tech area that is trending. In fact, it's one of the top when it comes to tech domains that are currently what? Trending. So what is it all about? Now let's simplify it. Let's look at the word data, and then we'll take what? Analytics. As we are all taught from our secondary school, data are raw facts, but in this context, I'm going to see data as information. Data can be defined as collected what? Information, saved either electronically, all right, or in any other format. Now, in this field, we don't exist without knowing or understanding what data is all about, from the perception of how it can influence, inform decision making. So if you take informed decision making, or if you take decision making out of this whole field for that time, if you take that keyword out, that is what? Making informed decision, then you do not exist. All right? So it's about applying analytical methods on a given data set to be able to what? To derive actionable insights. It's involved applying analytical methods in deriving actionable insights. Now, I carefully use the word actionable because there are certain insights that you can actually derive from a given data that cannot prompt anybody to make any informed decision. So if at the end of your analysis, you are not able to present any useful insights, any actionable insights that can help someone or a company or an individual to make informed decision, you have not done any analysis. You just give me. Sorry about that. So like I was saying, see, like I always tell students, your knowledge on Excel or advanced Excel, which is one of the most used data analytics tool, and I'll tell us its own limits as we proceed, is the most used, but it's not the most efficient tool. We'll get to know that later. Now, your knowledge on advanced Excel, your knowledge on Power BI, your knowledge on SQL, your knowledge on Python, your knowledge on Tableau, all this knowledge does not make you a data analyst. That is where some of us get it from. And that is why I actually organized this session, so that you have knowledge, you know how your thinking pattern should be. But the fact that you are a wizard in Excel does not make you a data analyst. A data analyst is somebody who understands the language of the data, is somebody who can reprocess, somebody who can clean up data, somebody who can draft questions, analysis questions that will eventually lead to the insights, and the insights will eventually lead to prompting an individual or an organization to make informed decision. So there is a way we see data. So whenever you are being trained by anyone, the training should go beyond you understanding the functions across these tools that I mentioned. You should be able to grab some analytical skills, and then also communication skills, report presentation skills. All these are what makes you a data analyst. So it requires you having technical skill. Your technical skill is your technical know-how on across those applications. Excel. The only thing those work can earn you is the technical skill. Then we have the soft skill, your ability to interpret those information you have gotten from the data, your ability to present your insights. These are the attributes of a data analyst. So a lot of people will end up learning and they will not be able to practice because one, they just go through the system and the system did not go through them. How did they go through the system? They went through the system in the sense that they were only focusing on understanding the analytical functions across these tools, but they never pay attention to the communication, how they can represent data, how they can interpret data. So it's very, very important we understand the sequence. Number one, as a data analyst, when you are given data, what should be your first approach? You should know. What should be your second approach? You should know. What should be your third approach? You should know. What should be your fourth approach? You should know. What should be your final approach? You should know. And if you apply B before A, you have gotten it wrong. So let me just sequence the approach. Number one, it is your responsibility to collect data as a data analyst. Now, when I say collecting data, I am not talking about data engineering because that is a field that some of us can specialize on. That at the end of the day, you will be addressed as a data engineer. Data engineering involves individuals in this field that understand the logic on how to construct data model that can be used to collect data. So they are good at designing data collection systems. They are good at building data collection systems. If you go to some supermarkets, you know, they can employ you today and then you start selling what? Drugs. Why? Because somebody have developed a data system that says that once somebody asks for a particular drug, just fetch it out here and then everything about it what comes out. That is what data engineering. But when I talk about data collection, which is our responsibility as data analysts, is your ability to gather data from different sources. If somebody give you data in a website, if a company give you access to their cloud storage, do you know how to pull out the data? Peradventure, they ask you to analyze the data directly from their website. Do you have the knowledge of standard query language, which is what? The SQL. If give you a website to get data from there, do you know how to process the data from different gateways? That is what it means to collect data. All right. Now, once you have collected your data, the next step is for you to study the data. I hope somebody is taking note of this. It's for you to study the data. So once they give you the data, then you don't start analyzing. the first thing you do after you have gotten access to the data, you sit down and study the data. And while you are studying the data, there are silent questions you should ask yourself. Number one question you should ask yourself is that this particular data set, what is the volume? What is the frame? That is where the word data frame comes from. There is difference between data frame and data sets. Data frame is emphasizing on the length and the width or the height of the data. And the height, the length, and the height of the data is measured by the numbers of attributes. When I say attribute, I'm talking about those headers, like serial number, customer name. So we measure the data frame. The length of the data is measured by the numbers of those attributes or captures or labels or headers and the total numbers of record. So the height of your data is measured by the numbers of records in it. So if I may just give us a brief illustration about it. What I'm saying is that this is my data frame. The length between here and here, how many headers are there? That is what should form your data frame. The numbers of headers and the numbers of record. Don't mind the drawing. The numbers of headers and the numbers of records. That is what forms the data frame. Now, what is now data set? You know, the reason why I'm giving us all this, if you consult me now that, okay, I learned that you are a data analyst or a data scientist, and I want you to help us draw some insights from our data to help us make informed decision. The first question I'm going to ask you, what is the frame of your data before I even tell you my being? Because the numbers of, if somebody give you a data set with 100 headers, the numbers of insight that will be required will be more than when you are given a data set of just 3 headers. All right. So data sets is the collection of the data objects and the data series. All right. That is our own term. Let me break it down in a layman term. Data set is the collection of the headers, the labels, and the record. While data frame is talking about the length and the height. And you know that you cannot measure that without knowing the total numbers of fields or header or record in your data set. So I just want to clarify those things because I'll be using them. That is why sometimes you see data analysts or data scientists using them interchangeably. At a point, they can say, I'm working on a data set, or I'm creating a portfolio, I'm working on a project, and this project, I'm working on a data set, working on a data frame. Somebody can use them interchangeably. But when somebody uses data frame, just know that it's talking about the length, how long, and the total numbers of records in that data. So let's go back to the approach. The first one, I said, you have access to the data, you collect the data, you stay on the data and understand the data. Then you start, while you are studying the data, there are questions you should be asking yourself that will enable you to identify the right thing, that will aid the quality of analysis question that you end up drafting. Right? So you ask yourself that question on what is the length of this data. Then you should also ask yourself question like, what are the types of data or value under each of those columns? So you should be able to tell us whether in a particular column we have categorical values or we have unique values. For example, if I have a data set that have serial number, that is unique value. No number will be repeated there. Then if I have a data set that have a column called what? Product category or product type, of course, one or two customers can purchase one particular product multiple times. And each time they purchase it, that product will be recorded. So which means that what? A particular product is repeated. Now, once you have a repeated value under a column, that is said to be a categorical value in what? Data analytics. But once you do not have a repeated value or you do not have repeated value, that is called what? Unique what? Value. So while you are studying your data, find out under each of those columns, the ones that have categorical values and the one that has just unique value. You know why? Because by the time you start drafting your question will sound like summarize the total profit per the unique products. So which means that you will end up having a float or an integer being calculated against categorical what? Values. And that is why I'm saying that while you are trying to understand your data, as the second approach, you ask yourself this question. It's not your boss you will ask. Within you, you trigger this question because this question will open your eyes to understand the data, because any data set you do not understand, it is impossible for you to draft quality analysis question. And once your questions are weak, there is every tendency that your outcome be equally what? Weak. And once your outcome is weak, why do you exist? When a company cannot invest billions of naira wisely because of your counsel, because of your report, when they cannot boldly say, okay, we are putting 10 million here, we are putting 100 million here, and we are sure that we are going to what? Get profit. Just by depending on their data analyst what? Report. There's no point of you calling yourself a data analyst. That's the point I was making at the beginning. And this is where people get it wrong. And let me shock you. If unexperienced person train you on this field, I can tell you for free that you are going to spend more time in gathering experience before you take off properly. What do I mean unexperienced? I'm not talking about in terms of technical skill. I'm talking about somebody who has never managed anything in their life. If you have such a person as an instructor teaching you this course, your journey is going to what? Be elongated. Why? Because he has never been in that shoe where he has made decisions. So he just learned the skills. And most of the things he'll be sharing with you, they are going to look more like abstracts. And when you apply them, you might make some mistake. I'm not saying that everything that's going to teach you will be wrong. But instead of you gathering or taking a 5 years to gather working experience, when you learn from someone who has once been a manager, a CEO, you see, that's what I always tell students. The best individual or candidates to learn this program and understand it and practice, they are people who have CEO mentality, people who have manager what? Mentality. What is the mentality of CEO or manager? Managers are goal-oriented individuals. They are problem-solving. These are individuals that analyze this data, either mentally or applying this analytical software. These are decision makers. And you ask yourself, what influences their decisions making? That is why you see organization holding review meetings after some time. Because while they are doing that,
They want to know an area that is underperforming. Then, because the data will expose all this. Once the data analyst presents his or her report, all the products that are underperforming will show up like this. So from there now, they will not be guided. They will not, because the data analyst will also suggest. That is why at the end of each of your analysis, there are two possible reports you are going to present. Number one is observations. Your observation is what we call insights. What and what did you discover from the data? What did you bring out from the data that the owner could not see? And then you cannot just come and tell me as a CEO or a stakeholder that after analyzing this data, I discovered that product A did this, product A realized 1 million profit, product B realized 500,000, then product C 200,000, product D maybe 1,000. You should also be able to suggest what I should do to improve on those products that are underperforming. That is where what we call what? Suggestion comes in. It is not every analysis that usually leads to what? Presenting recommendation. But every analysis must lead toward presenting insights or observations. I hope somebody is following. Can somebody unmute and let me hear from you guys if you are following? Are we learning something, please? Let me just hear from one or two persons before I proceed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So we need to understand this communication. You can see the way I'm speaking to you with confidence. That is how you should speak as a data analyst. That is the soft skill that I'm talking about. Somebody can analyze data, draw, beautiful insight, but by the time they ask him or her to come and stand before the company and interpret that, because the people you are talking to, they are not technical people. On no condition you analyze data and you are now presenting your insight in a technical form. That is capital what? Wrong. So after you have done your analysis, you should compose a very simple report in written form, backing it up with some visualization, maybe graph that they can easily see and know what you are saying, instead of you using a two-dimensional model like table. You back it up with graph. All right, so we are still looking at the approach. Approach number one, you get your data. Approach number two, you study the data. And while you are studying your data, you ask yourself some of these questions I'm analyzing. You ask yourself, what is the volume of this data? How many records are in this data set? Then after that, you now go through each of the column and find out the type of value, whether they are unique value or categorical value. Then after that, the next question you see why you are doing that, why you are studying the data. It is in that process you will not discover errors. It is in that process you will know that, oh, this is not in the right format. That will not take you to the next step, which is what? Data cleaning. So if you do not go through the data, how will you know whether there are errors? Some of us will rush. See, I train students on data science, unsupervised learning, and what? Unsupervised machine learning, and supervised what? Machine learning. You see, unsupervised takes 80% of data science. The supervised, which is building analytical what? Model, training your data, splitting your data, is just 20%. So out of 4 months that we normally use to train someone on data science, I use 2-3 months to train them on what? Unsupervised. And what is that unsupervised? Is cleaning your data, because the machine that you are going to train that will be analyzing the data subsequently, if there is error, one error, we make that machine to be analyzing error all the rest of its life. And that is why under data science, we focus on data cleaning, 80%, there's just 20% to build what model that the machine can now use to be analyzing the data. But you know what? You cannot even step into that realm until you have graduated from data analysis. That's the mistake some of us will just go straight to data science. All right. So now we are taking a step. Once you have studied your data and you now understand the data, the next thing you do, now remember that there is a step that can be skipped. That depends on what you find out while you were studying the data. So if in that process of understanding the data, you discover some errors, then you can't proceed to the next step. You have to wait until you sort it out, until you clean up the data. And what is data cleaning? Data cleaning simply means the art or the process of perfecting any given data or restructuring the data. Because at times, the people that collect this data, they are unskilled individuals. And at the end of the day, they give you, how do I put it, unstructured data. When you are supposed to work with what? Structured data as a data what? Analyst. So they give you unstructured data. What do I mean by unstructured data? Unstructured data is a data set that was not well organized. It's a data set that was collected without capturing the role of a data analyst to have put certain things in proper order in order to help the data analyst. So they just call somebody that does not even know what is called analysis, that does not even know whether they are going to analyze the data, and just give the data to the person. Or once Peter come to buy anything, just write the information here. Anyhow, when they give you that data, you have to stay on it. That is why in the training, you are going to see the amount of time we are going to devote on cleaning data, because that is a department. It is not all of us that we analyze data. Some of us, we end up becoming data cleaners. Some of us, we end up becoming data analysts. Some of us, in fact, so the field itself is very wide. You have to find out where your strength is. You know what? The job there, I can tell you, they are looking for more data cleaner than what data analysts. You know why? Because these are scarce a little, because everybody wants to be at the top. And you know what? A company can have one data analyst, but they cannot have what? One data cleaner. Because they will give the data to different persons to clean up without knowing themselves. That is why you can easily work remotely with this field, because you don't need to leave your house. You are not the one that will be engineering the data. You will not be there when the transaction is taking place. So after they have put that together in 6 months, then they send it to you. So anywhere you are, you can analyze data and forward your insight to them. That is why you see this program trending, because it is very easy to practice remotely. You don't need to be in that company as a data analyst. So data cleaning is very important. You see, across all the tools that I used to train, that I know very well, that I used to train, Advanced Excel, Power BI, SQL, R, and Python, I take my time to train my students on how to clean data across them, because the methodologies on how you clean data with Excel, they are different from the one of Python. The one of Python different from what? Power BI. The one of Power BI, they are different from SQL. So as you are learning all these tools, please don't just focus on analysis with them. Also understand how you can clean your data with them. Because erroneous data eventually lead towards erroneous insights. Like I always tell students, you see, this program is very risky. This is not a program you should manage if at the end of the day, the discount I'm going to give to us, because my plan is, let me see the rest one, just like a giveaway. If you make it to that master class, I don't want somebody that is not serious, that does not know why he or she is there. That's the reason why we say taster session. Find out what this program is all about before you put in your money. Whether it's worth putting your money. So I don't put your money at the end of the day. You start regretting that. Particularly when it become online, like I say, online people. But meanwhile, you choose wrongly. Because students who choose wisely, who understand what the program is, you see them staying true. All right. So we are still looking at the steps. So in the process in the process of understanding data, if you discover error, then you wait. Then if after, so which means that they can give you a data set, and after studying the data, you discover that there's no error. So you skip that data cleaning. It's not all data given to you have errors. So don't manufacture error where there are no errors. If a person like me collect data, you are not going to see error because I'm a data analyst. So while I'm creating the data, I will avoid those errors because I know that a fellow like mine is going to work on them. So that kind of data should be given to someone, and then the person will now start discovering errors. So a data can be given to you without error. Once there is no error, you skip to the next step. The next step is drafting your analysis questions. That is the skill set. A lot of us lack it. And I said when I started, that is the main aspect of this field. If somebody give you data set now, do you know how to look at the data with the eyes of a CEO, with the eyes of the owner of that company? What is the eyes of the owner of company? If you are given